Hey there guys, welcome back to my channel Expat Nam. So in part one of this video I showed you around this Novaland apartment here in District 2, Ho Chi Minh City or Saigon. So in this video I wanted to touch upon the pros and the cons of living in an apartment like this. So why might you choose a Novaland, slightly more longer term style apartment as opposed to say a service room or just a small room in a house, for example, in Vietnam. Well, let's get into it. So one of the main pros about living in an apartment like this one or a house in Vietnam is you pay the state rate for electricity and water. So what does that mean? Well, in Vietnam there's only one electric company, EVN, and when you're in let's just say a normal type of living situation, when you're not in a serviced apartment where the landlord controls the whole property and the electric, you pay a much cheaper rate of electricity. So it's a tiered rate, and it tops out at about 2.4 thousand dong a kilowatt, whereas if you're renting a service room, for example, they start at about 3.5 thousand dong a kilowatt up to like 4 or even 4.5 I've seen thousand dong a kilowatt, which is like double price, so ridiculous. So for example, my electric bill here in the Sun Avenue around 400,000 or 500,000 Vietnamese dong a month. If I were to live in a service room, it'll be at least double that cost. Same goes for water. I'm paying around, I think it's 5,000 Vietnamese dong per meter cubed of water here. Obviously you can't drink the water, but you can use it for everything else. If I were to live in a service room, the landlord would probably be loading that rate as well, and I'd be paying double price. So pro number one is definitely the state electric and water. So for someone like me, having a pool and gym is great. So most of the bigger developments such as this one in Saigon, Hanoi, they tend to have a pretty good air-conditioned gym and a nice pool as well, just within the development. Some of them have really nice pools, like the higher end units, very nice, multiple pools, infinity pools, etc. I'll leave a quick clip of the pool here, folks. And what does it cost you? So you're paying around, they calculate the management fee per square meter of the apartment, but for an apartment like this one, a fairly spacious one bed, I pay around 800,000 Vietnamese dong a month, which includes security, pool, gym, and lighting and cleaning of communal areas, which I think is an absolute bargain. Let's move on to then some of the negatives then perhaps of living in a place like this. So for someone like me, and if you're from a Western country as well, it's quite strange to have so many security guards. So it's a little bit kind of ominous sometimes. There's like 2 security guards at the door, there's someone always sitting, and then an additional kind of management person sitting at the desk. There's a juristic office as well, so you kind of feel a little bit like you're always being watched. The security guys are always taking photos of stuff, and one of the biggest problems of a place like this is you have to, when you take things in and out of the property, like if you sell something, or for example like myself, when I'm moving at the moment, I have to go through this awfully bureaucratic process of signing paperwork, stamping paperwork, because they just don't trust you. They think you're stealing from the apartment, and it's not innocent until proven guilty. It's guilty until proven innocent here, and it really does my head in a bit where it's my property, that you have no right, some strange security guy, to go through my luggage, for example, and write down, take a photo of what's in there. No, that's not on. So for me, I don't like that at all. But I've spoken to some Vietnamese friends and colleagues, and some of them do like that. They like the fact that they feel very secure here. And yes, if you don't want to be contacted, for example, you could easily hide away in one of these units, and no one's coming up here. The card is locked to your floor. Security are not going to let you in. So yeah, I think pros and cons perhaps to that situation. But for me, personally, I prefer to have a slightly a more relaxed and more freer entry and exit system, and I don't particularly like having the kind of multiple security dotted around. Just feels a bit like I don't want to say prison, but a little bit unusual. What other kind of negatives would you perhaps come across living in a place like this? Well, for me, it's noise, and noise outside. Obviously you may be able to hear the construction noise, but that's just part and parcel of Vietnam. It's a country on the up, developing quickly. Everywhere you go in Vietnam there's noise at the moment. Okay, you kind of get used to it. But neighbor noise, so the way these apartments are built, they're single skin walls, so that just means like one layer of brickwork and slapping on plaster either side. What does that mean for soundproofing? Well, it means there isn't any, so I can hear my neighbors both sides, TVs, talking, for example. And coming from somewhere like the UK, where you have very high construction standards in apartments, and you don't really hear anything, it takes a bit of getting used to, hearing your neighbour's conversation, for example. And I was a bit disappointed after I moved in to realise that, because I thought with a new, I think its development's about 4 years old, but really there is no, as far as I can see, standards in regards to soundproofing at all. So yeah, be prepared for that, folks. Also, you have like multi-generational living here, so you have grandparents, kids and children living in 2 and 3 bedroom apartments all around. So it means you've got kind of quite a lot of background noise, doors open, people cooking smells coming through the corridors, a lot of people coming and going, kids playing outside in the corridors for a long time. And yeah, I'm fairly tolerant, but if you're not, then it may start to do your head in a bit. And again, I suppose it's the luck of the draw depending on who your neighbours are. But for me, I think with all the security here, they could do a better job of perhaps asking people to be a little bit more respectful and quiet in communal areas, because no one wants to hear people screaming and shouting in corridors when you come home from work tired. I think on the whole it's really good living. I definitely would prefer it to a serviced apartment just because of the electric and having the pool, the gym, and also supermarket, shops downstairs, restaurants. Very, very convenient living. If you don't want to, you don't have to leave the building, and I suppose that's what the developer wants. They want to keep you in their little ecosystem, so you use their shops and everything else. But yeah, very convenient living, good price, cheap for management fees. If you know about the UK, they charge maybe $200-300 a month just for service charges, management fees in apartments. Here, it's like £25-30, so $30-35. Very, very cheap, and you get a lot for that: gyms, pools, etc. On the negative side, it's the kind of overbearing, overzealous management and security. For me, that's something that I don't particularly like, but I can live with it, I suppose. Another point is pets. So they don't typically allow pets in these buildings, but there is a lot of people with pets. There is a bit of a scandal at the moment where they're threatening to chuck people out who've got pets, even though they've lived here for a number of years with their pet. But also what's very weird is there's 2 pet shops just open downstairs as well. So obviously Novaland or Seville's or whoever are managing the unit at the moment, they allow pet shops to open, but they don't allow you to have pets. So kind of weird, right? So there we go, folks. Just a quick bit of information for you if you're thinking of renting, a slightly more expensive, longer term, or you're thinking about entering into a longer term contract in Vietnam. Those are some points that I would bear in mind. Always try to view the apartment at least twice if you can, at different times of the day. It's going to be a lot more quiet in the daytime than it is in the evening typically. And yeah, good luck to you. Alright folks, take it easy. Give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. I'd love to get your support. Plenty more cool stuff about living in Vietnam coming soon, and a big change from me as well. Watch this space.